Hey folks, we're on lesson 4 of our Scratch tutorials and we're going to learn today how to make a very classic game scenario. And in order to do that we need to understand making clones and we need to understand the idea of random numbers. So a clone is a copy of a sprite including all of its scripts and settings, and they're really useful because we can respawn enemies and recreate tokens for collections, so it's really useful in gaming. And actually clones are a very common concept in game design. And random numbers essentially allow us to make the enemies that we're cloning appear in different places. So it's really useful in putting an enemy down somewhere you don't expect them to be next time. And what that does is it creates an element of surprise, makes the game more playable as opposed to just predictability, you knowing where things are going to be. And to begin with, we're obviously going to have quite a predictable flow in this game, but I'm making a game where clones are dropping from the sky. So clones of the donut are dropping from the sky almost. And it's like one of those games where you've got to collect things. Alright, the crab's moving around obviously. The only bit of animation on this crab when it moves is its pincers. I've called it Charlie the crab. Begins with C. A little bit of alliteration there, folks. If you've learnt that in English, it means using the same letter at the beginning of each word in a sentence. And yeah, there we go. So it's quite boring, but we will improve on this in the next couple of videos of the lesson. But for now, we just want to get this bit working. So let's dive right in. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the background in, which is the boardwalk on a beach. So backdrops, and let's add one. So let's find one here, painting one obviously. And we're going outdoors, and it's something called a boardwalk, or what we call a seafront, but you get a boardwalk over the water. Right, we're going to get rid of the cat and we're going to add Charlie the crab. So let's find an animal. There's a crab. Right, and in previous lessons, you've obviously seen how to make characters move left and right and up and down, but I'm just going to put this together now. It's not going to have any spin or any left right, so it's going to just stay stationary the way it is. I'm going to make him about, or her, about 60. That'll be fine, won't it? Little crab walking along the boardwalk by the sea. And let's get to work on the scripts. So we start with an event, as we have in previous lessons. When green flag clicked, that's your start option. We're going to have a forever. The forever is constantly looping through a series of checks to see if the user is pressing either the right or the left keyboard key. So the right or left arrow on the keyboard. And so we're going to sense firstly, have they pressed right? Nope, sorry, I've got the wrong bit there. We're going to go for key space pressed. Are they touching the right? Yeah, right arrow. Next one. Left arrow. And then we are rather predictably going to go for motion. And we'll go point in direction for the right one. And point in direction minus 90 to be facing left. It's always good just to go through this with you because we've done it in previous lessons, but it's a nice recap. Before we do anything as well, we're going to go for next costume. So the pincers move as the little crab's walking left and right. And then we're going to go for move 10 steps. Okay, so let's play that and the crab should start moving. You can see the pincers move too fast for my liking, but there we go. Snip, snip, snip. Right, so that's the crab sorted. We're now going to make the donut. So I'm going to go to choose a new sprite and I'm going to go for the magnifying glass. And what I'm going to do is go for food, and there's the donut. That's very big, isn't it? So we need to make that smaller by going to size, and I'm going to reduce it all the way down to 40. 40? Or should I go for 30? Go for 30, make it really small. Oh, no, not 300. 30, there we go. So that donut should sort of drop down. Now I'm going to put the donut right up to the top of the screen, and its direction is not going to rotate either, because otherwise it kind of flips on its side when it falls. And it's rather annoying because it should just kind of drop down as it is. Okay. We'll also set its direction to 180, not 178, minus 180. There we go, or 180. So that should just fall down nicely. Okie dokie. So we need to give it a script. Now the first script I'm going to show you is how to make it fall. Then we'll work on the cloning, which is the really important part of this later. So what we'll do is we'll start with a green flag clicked. And it's really simple. we want to go for a control. We're going to go for a loop. And instead of going forever, we're going to go for repeat until. This is a really nice one here. So repeat until. And I'm going to go for sensing. And we're going to go for touching edge. So I need to actually just move this down a little bit there so it's not touching the edge here, otherwise it will kind of stop the script. So it starts about here and it's going to fall down and it will stop when it touches the bottom. Okay, so let's give it some motion. So firstly, shall we just make sure in the script that before that happens we're going to point in direction, we're making sure that it's facing down. I know I did it there, but it's just nice to put it in the script as well. And we are going to move. We're going to do 5 steps so it moves slowly. 10 steps is far too fast. I'll show you now. Yeah, so it's 5 steps would be easier for the game to have. All right, so so there we go. And the script stops as soon as it's touching the edge. What I want to do now as well is I want to make it hide when it hits the bottom, so it looks like it's disappearing. Let's go again. So I've got to put it back firstly. And now I'm going to make it fall down. And it disappears because it's hidden. Let's put show at the very top there. Where's it gone? That's going to be problematic, isn't it? Let's figure that out. So I'm going to just go for show. There we go. So you can double click on the actual items of script and you'll be able to get what you need back. So always go to that. If something disappears, always just double click on show and it should show itself. Right, but I'm not happy with it just doing that. So I'm now going to set it as a clone. So what we're going to do is we're just going to grab all that script because that's what this clone's going to do. We're going to go for this then. So we're going to go for hide when green flag clicked. Green flag's clicked. Right, now we want to do something new, which is going to control. And we want to create a clone of myself, obviously, of the donut. So we're creating a clone. What that should do now is create a clone of itself. It will keep creating a clone. Obviously, there's loads of clones being made, and it kind of ends up here in this one spot. Now what we're going to do is we're going to point in direction. And the clone is what's moving, because the original one is hidden. I'll show you. If I click on show, so I go to looks, and I go to show. See, we've got 2. We've got its original, and we've got the clone. So obviously a clone's been made and dropping down. Right, the next thing we want to do then is we want to make multiple clones every few seconds. So we go to control, and this time we are using a forever loop, not a repeat until loop. We can put that clone of myself in there. And watch what happens now. Loads of them, right? So they're all just being made one after the other, and they happen so quickly, it's a bit too much. So loads of these clones have been made, and they're all moving down to the bottom. They're all moving 5 steps. And looks like Scratch has just glitched out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop that there for a second. Okay, what's just happened on my screen is Scratch actually became non-responsive because I overloaded it with so many instructions. We don't want to do that. Please don't crash your computer. But once it stops glitching out, what we're going to do is we're going to wait 1 second before we make the clone. So now it starts creating lots of clones, but they're all going down to the bottom and they're all stacking there, aren't they? Not exactly what we want to do. We want it to then delete the clone when they get to the bottom. So let's go to control again. Oh, we're there already. And this time we're going to delete the clone once it's reached the bottom. Press stop. So there we go. So show, pointing direction down, repeat until touching the edge, which is this bit here. Obviously make sure you're not positioning your donut right up on the edge there, because otherwise it won't work. Move 5 steps, so we're constantly moving 5 steps, repeating that until we're touching the edge. So that's a loop. And when we are touching the edge, obviously at the end of the loop, we just delete the clone. All right, and that's what it is. It's a copy of the donut. Right. Now let's go to give the crab some instructions. Actually, no, we're not going to. We're going to do it on the donut. All right, so move 5 steps. As there are multiple copies of this, we're going to put the instruction about colliding with the crab, sorry, not the clab, in the donut itself. So we're going to go to if then after the move 5 steps. What we're going to go for is sensing and touching, not mouse pointer obviously, if touching the crab. I should have called the crab Charlie. Let me just change it to Charlie. Charlie the crab. So it should change automatically to Charlie there. Right, if it's touching Charlie, we also delete the clone then as well. All right, so delete the clone then also. So that's our little game so far. And obviously, I can collect the donuts. They'll keep going, obviously, until I grab them. So that's the first stage to making a game where you collect things that are falling from the sky. And I'm sure plenty of you have played games like that in the past.